If your child flips a switch from happy to screaming in 3 seconds flat because you cut their toast into triangles instead of squares, and you think they are just being manipulative, think again. This is actually a biological red flag indicating their nervous system has tipped into fight or flight mode. Most parents try to discipline these mood swings with timeouts or stern lectures. But here's the truth. You cannot discipline biology. If you treat a biological crisis like a behavioral problem, you will lose every single time. Today, we are going to fix the hidden triggers that are actually causing these meltdowns, using a simple diagnostic tool called the HALT framework: hungry, angry, lonely, and tired. So you can finally stop walking on eggshells in your own home. We have all been there. You are having a perfectly normal Tuesday. You ask your child to put on their shoes, and suddenly it is World War III. They are on the floor, kicking, screaming, and completely inconsolable. You feel exhausted holding your lukewarm coffee, wondering what you did wrong and why your child seems to go from 0 to 100 over nothing. But here's the science most parents miss. A child's emotional regulation is directly tied to their physiological state. When a child acts out, their brain is usually flooding with stress hormones. Think of their nervous system like a bucket. Throughout the day, stressors add water to that bucket. Hunger adds water, noise adds water, fatigue adds water. When that bucket overflows, you get a meltdown. It's not that they are trying to be difficult. It's that they are biologically overwhelmed. If we treat this as bad behavior, we miss the cure entirely. We are going to break down the science of hanger, the cortisol spike that mimics hyperactivity, and the psychology behind why they save their absolute worst behavior for you. By the end of this video, you will have the tools to be a detective, not just a disciplinarian. Let's start with H for hungry. This is the most common and easily fixable trigger, yet it is often the most overlooked. If you notice your child's mood swings happen specifically mid-morning, right before lunch or the dreaded late afternoon slump, you are likely dealing with a blood sugar crash, commonly known as hanger. We often feed kids high-carbohydrate snacks like goldfish, fruit pouches, granola bars, and juice boxes because they are convenient and kids love them. These foods spike glucose rapidly. It gives them a burst of energy. But what goes up must come down. When that blood sugar crashes an hour later, their body has to do something to keep them functioning. It releases adrenaline to compensate and mobilize stored energy. Here is an insight that I never knew until I looked at the biochemistry. Adrenaline is a stress hormone. It is the same hormone released when you are being chased by a bear. So, physically, when that sugar crash hits, your child feels anxious, shaky, and threatened. Their heart beats faster. They feel an internal sense of panic. Emotionally, this looks like a meltdown because you gave them the blue cup instead of the red one. To you, it looks like irrational defiance, but to their body, it is a survival response. They aren't being picky, and they aren't trying to make your life difficult. They are physiologically dysregulated. Their body is literally in a state of chemical emergency. A parent asked me recently, "But my child is a picky eater and refuses protein, so how do I stop the carb overload without starving them?" This is a great question. The solution isn't just forcing them to eat a steak dinner at 3 in the afternoon. It is anchoring their blood sugar. Every time they eat, we need a protein or a healthy fat paired with that carb. You don't have to ban the cracker. You just have to pair it. Think about the swap. Instead of just a bowl of crackers, offer an apple slice with peanut butter. Pair a cheese stick with those grapes. Offer hummus with carrots or Greek yogurt with berries. Even a glass of milk has more protein than a juice box. By adding fat and protein, you flatten that glucose curve. Instead of a spike and a crash, you get a gentle rolling hill. No crash means no adrenaline spike. No adrenaline spike means a calm, regulated child. Try this for 3 days. Be religious about the protein pairing and watch the mid-afternoon tantrums simply disappear. Next, let's look at T for tired. This is often the most counterintuitive trigger for parents to spot. If your toddler is running circles around the couch at 8 p.m., screaming with laughter and bouncing off the walls, and you think they are not tired, think again. This is that biological red flag called the cortisol spike. When kids miss their sleep window even by as little as 20 minutes, their body assumes there is an emergency. Biologically, the brain says, "I should be asleep, but I am not, so there must be a threat requiring me to stay awake." To help the child survive this perceived threat, the brain floods the system with cortisol and adrenaline. This gives them a second wind of manic energy. But this isn't happy energy. This is a stress response. I never knew that this hyperbehavior was actually a sign of exhaustion. I always thought it meant they weren't ready for bed, so I would let them stay up later, which only made the crash worse. A child in this state has zero emotional regulation. They are wired but tired. This is when the biggest, most irrational mood swings happen, usually right before bed or during the witching hour. If you are seeing manic mood swings in the evening, the solution isn't a later bedtime to wear them out. It is actually moving bedtime 20 minutes earlier. You have to catch the wave before it crashes. You need to look for subtle sleep signs that happen before the running starts. Zoning out or staring into space, rubbing their ears, nose, or eyes. A change in coordination, like becoming rigid, clumsy, or tripping over nothing. If you see these signs, you have about 15 minutes before the cortisol spike hits. Drop everything and get them to bed immediately. By preventing the spike, you prevent the meltdown. Now let's talk about L for lonely. This doesn't mean your child has no friends or that you are a neglectful parent. In the context of mood swings, it refers to a lack of connection after a long period of separation, like a school day, or even after you have been focused on work while they played alone. Sometimes the mood swing seems to come out of nowhere. Everything is fine. They walk in the door, and then boom. This is often restraint collapse. Imagine your child wears an invisible backpack. All day long they are putting rocks in it. Someone bumped them at school. The lights were too bright. They had to sit still for circle time when they wanted to run. They got an answer wrong in class. They held it together all day because they want to be good at school and fit in socially. That takes an immense amount of emotional energy. When they get home to youth, their safe space, they dump the backpack. They explode over a broken cracker or a sock that feels weird. This is actually a compliment, though it definitely doesn't feel like one in the moment. It means they feel safe enough with you to stop holding it all in. They are lonely for that deep safety connection. They need to discharge that stress. One of the most common mistakes we make happens right at the door. We miss them, so we bombard them with questions like, "How was school?" or "What did you do today?" or "What do you want to do now?" The moment they walk in, you are adding another rock to a full backpack. Their brain is tired of processing information. Instead, build a decompression transition. For the first 20 minutes after school or daycare, offer low stimulation connection. Do not ask questions. Just offer a presence. Give them a snack, protein, and fat. Remember a quiet cuddle on the couch? Or sensory play like Play-Doh, kinetic sand, or water play. Let their nervous system reset before you ask them to regulate their emotions again. This fills their connection cup without demanding anything from them. Finally, we have A for angry, which is often a mask for anxiety. So, the meltdown is happening. The glucose crashed, or the cortisol spiked, or the backpack dumped. Now what? Here's the science. A child's prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain responsible for logic, reasoning, and calming down, is not fully developed. In fact, it doesn't finish developing until their mid-20s. When they flip their lid, that part of the brain goes offline. They are operating entirely from their amygdala, the primitive emotional center. They physically cannot calm themselves down from a high-stress state alone. They do not have the hardware for it yet. They need to borrow your calm. This is called co-regulation. If you join their chaos, if you yell because they are yelling, or get frustrated because they are frustrated, you are throwing gasoline on the fire. You are confirming to their primitive brain that the situation is indeed an emergency. A common question I get is, if I don't punish the tantrum immediately, aren't I rewarding bad behavior? I hear this all the time. The answer is no. You are teaching regulation. You cannot teach a drowning child how to swim. You have to pull them out of the water first. Discipline requires logic, and right now their logic brain is offline. First, we regulate. Then we teach. We use the low and slow method. First, get low. Get below their eye level. This signals safety to the primitive brain. Standing over them can feel threatening. Second, go slow. Slow your speech and deepen your voice. Fast. High-pitched talking increases anxiety. Don't say, "Stop crying. It's just a cracker." Do say, "I know. You really wanted the square cracker. It's frustrating." You validate the feeling, not the behavior. You are not saying it is okay to scream. You are saying it is okay to be frustrated. You act as the external hard drive for their big emotions until their cortisol flushes out and their logic comes back online. Once they are calm, then you can talk about how we ask for things or how we handle disappointment. But you have to wait for the storm to pass. Managing mood swings isn't about being a perfect parent who never gets annoyed. It's about being a detective using the HALT framework. Before you react, pause and run the checklist. Is it hanger? Do they need a protein snack? Is it a cortisol spike from being tired? Did they miss their sleep window? Is it restraint collapse because they were lonely for safety? Or are they angry and in need of co-regulation? When you stop looking at the behavior as naughty and start looking at the biology as a red flag, you stop fighting your child and start helping them. You change the dynamic from adversaries to teammates. If you want to spot the subtle signs of the sleep window before it closes, or need a list of the best protein-packed snacks for picky eaters, check out the full video linked below and subscribe for more healthy child habits.